Masterpiece Cakeshop involved a small business that declined, because of the owner's religious convictions, to provide a service for a same-sex wedding. In this case, it was Colorado cake designer Jack Phillips's convictions against designing a cake for a gay couple, Charlie Craig and Dave Mullins. In many of these cases, although not all of them, and a couple of recent decisions go the other way, courts have been unwilling to exempt businesses from anti-discrimination laws on religious grounds and have ruled in favor of the customers. About the only guidance the court was willing to give was this: courts would need to strike a balance between the right of religious persons to have their beliefs respected and the right of gay persons to obtain goods and services in the marketplace without suffering affronts. Now, equality has been central to the American worldview ever since Jefferson enshrined the concept in the Declaration of Independence. But equality can mean different things. According to one understanding, it refers to legal equality, to the fair and uniform application of the law to all citizens. But equality can also refer to a broader unwillingness to accept any distinctions among groups and individuals, whether material, social, or personal. According to this view, equality means a rejection of the idea of difference per se. All boundaries that distinguish one group of people from another, for example, beliefs and practices that mark out a religious community and exclude non-members, all such boundaries are presumptively suspect because of the implicit judgments that they suggest. Some groups apparently think that their beliefs and way of life are superior to others. Suggesting that one finds others' beliefs and practices morally inferior on this view is a grave affront to human dignity. Notwithstanding our claims to respect diversity, it is this second concept of equality, what Samuel Gregg calls equality as sameness, that pervades our culture today, especially with respect to religion. A couple of years ago, I posed a hypothetical case in my law and religion class, and I'm interested to see what some of the students here think about this case. Here's the hypothetical case. Suppose I ask the students, an observant Jew has a florist shop. One day, a customer, who's also Jewish, comes to the shop and says she's getting married and she would like the florist to do the wedding. The customer says the wedding will be at a local non-denominational church because her fiancé is a Christian. And she, the customer, isn't really very observant. The florist thinks about it and says, "I'm very sorry, but I can't do your wedding. It's nothing personal. I'm sure your fiancé is a fine person, as are you. But as an observant Jew, I don't approve of interfaith weddings. For our community to survive, we must avoid intermarriage. Many other florists can do your wedding. I'll even suggest some to you. But I cannot, in good conscience, participate in your wedding." What result? That's what we say in law school. What result? Well, in posing this hypothetical, I was trying to show my students that these are complicated questions and that we need to consider both sides. Much to my surprise, the students were uniformly unsympathetic to the florist. There should be no legal right to decline services in this situation, they told me. The florist was not acting reasonably and in good faith. I pressed them. Didn't they see that genuine religious diversity requires a respect for difference, that difference implies boundaries, and that boundaries necessarily exclude? Couldn't a member of a minority religion believe in good faith that her community faced assimilation and declined to run her business in a way that promoted it? Wasn't that a concern worthy of respect? They told me, no. The administrative state inherently tends to favor the expansive conception of equality as sameness that I've described. And that means that conflicts between the administrative state and the traditionally religious are apt to occur much more frequently. Once again, Tocqueville explains why this is so. Egalitarian democracies, he believed, tend to encourage a powerful state because they promote an individualism that is unsustainable without it. In a democracy, the individual learns to rely on his own judgment, not received wisdom, in making his life choices. He learns to see himself as equal to everybody else. He sees no reason to defer to other people's judgments or to traditional authority. But this individualism paradoxically promotes a powerful state. As traditional sources of authority weaken, only the state remains to protect the individual from the inevitable vicissitudes of life: sickness, unemployment, loneliness. Only a powerful state has the ability to protect and provide for the individual who has abandoned the traditional sources of loyalty and support. The traditionally religious face an expanding set of rules and policies that promote new understandings of equality, particularly with regard to sexuality and gender, along with an ever-expanding bureaucracy to enforce them. The traditionally religious face increasing pressure to accept the new understandings and comply with the new rules or face legal sanctions. Masterpiece Cakeshop offers a good example. The Colorado Civil Rights Commission ruled against Jack Phillips in order to promote equality for same-sex marriage, a concept that relatively few would have endorsed a decade ago, even on the progressive left. It imposed significant regulatory burdens on him, including training and quarterly reporting requirements that would have demanded significant time and money. Phillips decided to resist, but not many people will do so. The more likely result will be that traditionally religious business people like Phillips abandon, or at least soften, their convictions in order to make a living. Of course, the commissioners were trying to promote human flourishing and protect gay couples from indignities in the marketplace. That's not my point. The point is that in imposing these burdens, the commission acted in a way calculated to advance the principle of equality as sameness and to weaken the hold of traditional religious commitments. We can anticipate many more such conflicts in the future. In short, Masterpiece Cakeshop is important because it reflects significant cultural and political trends. Those trends will continue to shape future conflicts between anti-discrimination norms on the one hand and religious freedom on the other. Disputes, to paraphrase Justice Kennedy, which set the right of gays and lesbians to obtain goods and services in the marketplace without experiencing affronts, against the right of religious persons to have their sincere beliefs respected by our government. Suffice it to say that the leading test in this area is the so-called compelling interest test, embodied in statutes like the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, or RFRA. Under that test, the government may substantially burden a person's religious exercise only where the government is advancing a compelling interest and has chosen the least restrictive means of advancing it. But the compelling interest test is itself deeply indeterminate. It turns on vague concepts that depend almost entirely on the intuitions of individual judges, which of course differ greatly. In a world in which we can't agree on what is good, how can we agree on what is a compelling interest?